So late Saturday night, actually 2 days ago, because I'm recording this at 1:42 a.m. Monday morning, we found out that the entire Broncos quarterback room had been exposed to COVID when they were having a film session. I think Locke, Rippon, Driscoll, and Bortles all came in on their off day to watch film together, as Fangio said, and yeah, it led to Driscoll testing positive for COVID, and none of these dudes were wearing masks, which I mean, to be completely honest, I don't think I follow protocols at my job like 100% of the time. I don't think anyone does. It's kind of something that can easily get put into the back of your mind. But the NFL has tried really, really hard to get the season up and running, and they have done a horrendous job planning for COVID. For a few weeks, we just got pretty lucky that it was at maintained minimally. But with cases across the country just going absolutely berserk the last month and a half or so, the NFL is starting to get more impacted, man. We had all those games in October that were moved and then moved again, and yada yada yada. Earlier in the season, Vic Fangio said that the emergency quarterback was Royce Freeman. And I learned from a news article that their first choice for the quarterback for this game was actually their offensive quality control coach who played quarterback at UCF. But the NFL put out some BS statements saying, like, oh, we don't want GM storing coaches as players, which, I mean, I think you got to make an exception to this year. Not because I grew up rooting for this team or anything. Yeah, I really think that's a BS reason. But late Saturday night, we did learn that the Broncos quarterback for this game would be a man of the name Kendall Hinton. And when I heard this, I admittedly knew nothing about this guy because I don't really follow Wake Forest football that closely, and I don't think many people do. So just a bit of background about this Hinton dude. So I actually saw a tweet last night that said the last pass Kendall Hinton threw in a game was October 6, 2018, and he was 0 for 5 in a 63-3 loss in Clemson. And like I said, he was not the Broncos' first choice as backup emergency quarterback for this game. This kind of reminds me of the backup emergency goalie situation that the NHL has. And if you guys remember, we actually had a situation this year where the Hurricanes actually ended up winning, partially because of their emergency backup goaltender, and partially because the Maple Leafs are just the Maple Leafs. The first thing I did was check out this dude's player profiler, and I literally could not find anything about his combine, anything about his pro day, anything about his college stats. And you know how something happens on Player Profiler and a guy is suddenly number one trending? Well, that's what happened. Kendall Hinton is number one trending today on Player Profiler. And I'm not here to argue that this game should have or shouldn't have been played, because ultimately it is the Broncos' fault for not following protocol, being stupid, not wearing masks, especially when the NFL has put in a lot of COVID rules, even though they've done a really poor job and just literally came into the season with absolutely no plan on how to combat the coronavirus. But the league literally bent over backwards for New England. They rescheduled their game against us literally twice because Cam Newton got COVID. You think what happened to Tennessee? They got their game moved, then not moved, then bye week shuffled around, and it just became a mess for their schedule and the Steelers' schedule. And then you think about the Ravens. So, I mean, I guess they really couldn't have a game safely, especially, within such a short time. Their strength and conditioning coach was an absolute dumbass who ended up infecting, I believe, 11 players now, and 9 coaches is the final count. So it seems like the NFL is actually rewarding all these other good teams that got COVID. And the NFL said, you know what, Broncos, you get a game against one of the toughest teams in the league tomorrow, which it ultimately is our fault for putting ourselves in this position. But you mean to tell me with a straight face that if Patrick Mahomes got COVID or got exposed to COVID, that the Chiefs still would have played in Tampa yesterday? So the game itself, so the Broncos' game plan was to just basically run. They didn't want to be irresponsible and throw Hinton into a situation where he was just chucking it downfield, making difficult reads, stuff that he even struggled to do at the college level. And the Saints' game plan was just basically don't screw up. Sean Payton actually came out in the post-game press conference and said that in Taysom Hill's headset in his earpiece or whatever, he literally just said, play conservative, do not turn it over. And credit to the Saints, that's what they did, and they got one of the best defensive units in the league. And if I'm being real, we weren't beating the Saints, even if we did have Drew Lock. The game probably would have been 28-3 instead of 31-3, albeit they were playing against a team whose quarterback was in sales a month ago. But, I mean, they did what they had to do. Could you imagine being, Kendall Hinton's coworker and just being like, "Oh yeah, you remember that guy from a month ago? Yeah, he's playing with the Broncos tomorrow at quarterback." And I think a lot of people understand the situation. I see that a lot of people are praising him on social media, which I love to see. So, due to the Saints' ultra conservative offensive game plan, where it was just run, 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 short pass, and the Broncos literally not even having a quarterback, they combined for a total of 91 yards, which is the lowest total of a game since 1979. And you knew from the start that this game was just going to be a game of field position, but the Broncos had literally a 0% chance of doing anything. And I've heard a lot of people say, oh, Taysom Hill played bad. And I mean, I don't think he played amazing, but considering the circumstances, considering the game plan was just, hey, don't screw up. No, and like when I say don't screw up, literally do not screw up. Do not do anything unnecessary. Do not even take the slightest risk. I think the Broncos defense is a lot better than stats would show. And like I said in that Taysom Hill video, I think before we knew that we'd be starting a Wake Forest practice squad wide receiver at quarterback, I said that if there was one coach that I think could figure out how to get to Taysom Hill, it would be Fangio, and it worked for the first 3 drives. And Hinton actually got a first down. He threw a little check down to Noah Fant, and Fant just did the rest. And shout out to the Broncos for playing hard. Like, they never gave up. They played all 4 quarters, even though the running backs knew that they had to run the ball basically every play, and that the Saints would just put 8, 9, maybe even 10 men in the box to go up there and just take it like a man. But Philip Lindsay sprained his MCL in a game that should have never even happened. So also when the Broncos got to the locker room, Fangio shouted out Hinton, and he basically said that he was just proud of their fight today. And he also called out Drew Lock and said, I'm disappointed with how the quarterbacks weren't following protocol. Another funny thing about Hinton is that he says on his LinkedIn that he's looking to start a career in the medical sales industry and that he's currently an NFL free agent. And shit, vote him in the Pro Bowl. Who says no? I mean, it's already a joke anyway, and it'd probably be one of the most unique experiences that the league could ever offer. And he also had the confidence to chuck it downfield. I mean, there were some really bad throws, but hey, I mean, let's be honest, if I was in that situation, I'd probably just be throwing checkdowns, and you could call me Alex Smith. And he also ended up taking a shot here and there from Cameron Jordan. So you've got a 5 foot, 195-pound guy going up against, like, guys who are 260, 270, even upwards of 300, just trying to rip your head off. And to be completely honest, I hope people realize how hard the NFL is after this. And to be honest, I don't think the coaches throughout the game did a lot to help him out. And maybe they just wanted him to just get crushed to prove to the NFL, hey, you look stupid for making us play. And the NFL did look stupid for making these guys play today. If there's anything you can take away from this incredible story, even though it probably didn't go how he wanted it to, and he thinks he could have played better, I'm really excited for this kid. I'm glad that he was able to give us Broncos fans, just a really, really wild game. Give it his all, show some heart, and the locker room was able to rally behind him. And that's really all you could ask for a team that lost 31-3. And this is probably like one of the only times where an NFL player could go onto a press conference and say, oh yeah, I tried my best, it just didn't work out, and you could legitimately not make fun of them. Alright guys, that was going to do it for the video. I was going to make a video about why I want to stop watching the Bears in primetime, but that is going to come out later than this. Anyways guys, follow me on Twitter, link is in the description below. Leave a like if you enjoyed, subscribe if you're not already. Anyways guys, have a good day, and peace out.